Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Norm Stamper is on the line with us. He is a member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. LEAP, LEAP.cc is the website. He is the former chief of the Seattle Police Department and an author. Chief Stamper, welcome back to the program.
Thanks. It's good to be back with you.
Thank you very much. An author. What is the title of your most recent book?
Breaking Rank, a top cop's expose of the dark side of American policing.
Thank you. I should have had that written down there and available in all the usual suspects, bookstores and whatnot, I'm guessing.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Norm Stamper, the states of Washington and Colorado have now said pot is legal in our state. We have become Amsterdam. Amsterdam allows, I told the story, 9/11, the airlines were offering super cheap flights, virtually free. I could use miles. So Louise and I and our three kids went to Amsterdam for the Christmas, in the month after 9/11. And we got a $400 a night room at the Marriott for $112 a night. I mean, nobody was flying. Everybody was scared. So
Sure.
we had this wonderful time. Went into the fanciest restaurant right across the street from the Rijksmuseum and from the big casino there in the fancy part of Amsterdam, white linen tablecloth. Sat down at the restaurant with all three of our kids are over 21. They're all adults. Sat down with our three kids, and the waiter comes over, with the cloth over his arm and the menu. And he says, "Here, sir, is the wine menu." And he hands me a menu. And he says, "And here is the pot menu." And he hands me a menu. Now, it's technically illegal in Holland, but this was our experience in probably one of the 5 finest restaurants in Amsterdam back in 2001. And so is that the situation now that Washington and Colorado, I mean, how is this playing out? And how are the police departments responding to this? And what's LEAP doing about that? I'm just curious, the whole thing. What's going on here?
Well, I think Tuesday produced some very obvious winners and losers. And the losers are the drug cartels, the street gangs, and those really on both sides of the law who profit from mass incarceration. And the winners are the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Taxpayers, police officers, advocates for community safety and social justice.
And not necessarily potheads.
And not necessarily potheads at all. We're talking about a civil liberties issue. We're talking about a public health and safety issue. We know, for example, that marijuana is much safer than alcohol, and it's healthier than tobacco. And the fact that it was prohibited for all of those decades, I think, is a testament to our willingness to turn the other way when it comes to common sense and science.
Well, it's also a testimony to the power of the diesel industry and the paper and wood industry.
Yeah.
But anyway, pardon my interrupting.
In answer to your question, I think police officers across this state, and I'm assuming in Colorado as well, are much relieved. For many of them, making very low-level, nonviolent marijuana busts was a waste of time. And you couldn't afford to, just turn your back on it because that begins to suggest corruption or, the kind of policing that relies on excessively on discretion. Mm-hmm. You can't leave it up to beat cops to make those decisions. This is a decision that the electorate had to make, and I'm just so glad that ours did.
Yeah, yeah. And this is. My personal experience with this is somewhat limited, but I think it was 1969 was the year, as I recall, which would have been the first year of the Nixon presidency. One of my very, very best friends from high school was arrested with a relatively small amount of pot, but it wasn't an insignificant amount, in Michigan. And this was the height of the drug hysteria, the drug laws, the war on drugs, all this kind of stuff. They threw the book at him to make an example. I mean, he drew 2 years in prison and served 2 years in the state prison. And when he came out, I didn't know him. I mean, he was broken. Yeah. And we are doing that routinely, particularly to people of color, but pretty much to anybody who gets caught up in the machine. And do you have any sense of how many lives have been destroyed by this, what is it, about a 70-year experiment with prohibition, 80-year experiment with prohibition?
Well, it certainly does go that far back, but as you mentioned, during the Nixon administration, when President Nixon proclaimed drugs public enemy number one and declared all-out war on them,
right.
We have spent $1 trillion. We have incarcerated tens of millions of Americans for nonviolent, very low-level drug offenses. And, I just say to people, use your imagination. How many of those lives have been damaged, if not ruined, as a result of a criminal arrest? Right. And I think it's safe to conclude that the drug war has caused far more harm than good. I think it's the worst social policy since slavery and Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. And I think it's high time we did what we did on Tuesday in those two states. It's for me, it's the beginning of the end of the drug war, and I'll tell you the truth, I never thought I'd say that in my time.
I think so, too. I think that much like the early cracks in segregation were Brown versus Board in 1954 and forced busing in the early 60s, but it really hit its and even the Civil Rights Acts in the mid-60s, we saw the full fruition of this with the nomination and successful election to the President of the United States of a man of color. In Barack Obama. It took basically a generation or two generations. But once that tipping point was passed, there was no turning back. And I think looking back on it, that tipping point probably was between 54 and 60. And it feels to me like this is a similar tipping point right now. And the first political party that seriously gets behind this, whether it's the libertarian wing of the Republican Party or the pothead wing of the Democratic Party, or just the rational wing of the Democratic Party, they're going to start winning elections like there's no tomorrow.
There is no question about that. Young people overwhelmingly supported the electorate's decisions in Colorado and and in Washington last Tuesday, and given that demographic and the fact that even among other age groups and across the country, we're now at 50% approval for legalizing marijuana. Go back to 1969. The figure at that time when Gallup first did its poll was 12% support.
Wow.
And all the rest opposed. And certainly that reversal has been a long time in coming, but as you point out, it is not reversible. What we will see is more and more support for sane and sensible drug laws. And you're right, if political parties will wise up to that fact, they're bound to reap the benefits for years to come.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Is there any indication? We're talking with Norm Stamper. He's a member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. LEAP.cc is their website. He is the former chief of the Seattle Police Department and the author of the title of your book again?
Breaking Rank.
Breaking Rank. And Chief Stamper, in the minute we have left, do you or any of the members of LEAP have any sense of what the Obama administration is going to do about this?
The short answer is no. We really don't. We have attempted to appeal to the Obama administration on a number of occasions. Even marched on the drug czar's office here about a year ago.
This is cops marching.
Report. And we got the cold shoulder, and it's interesting because of course my successor in Seattle as police chief was Gil Kurlikowski, who's now our drug czar. I think for years the attitude has been don't talk to the other side, don't talk to the drug policy reformers.
Right.
And I think it's safe to say now they have to talk to us.
Well, and that again is another indication that we've hit a tipping point. Former chief of the Seattle Police Department, Norm Stamper, author of Breaking Rank, member of the Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, LEAP.cc. His Twitter is Cops Say Legalize. Chief Stamper, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. My pleasure.
Great. Pleasure and honor speaking with you, sir. We'll be back.